All praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. I want to give double honors and much respects to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother Yoba Call from Great Millstone, Orlando. Just a quick chat with the church. Just going for a morning walk. I ain't finna do the 6 miles. Where I didn't do the 6 miles, but nevertheless, because just getting off the plantation, as well as working out, getting a workout in. Took a few days off. Of course, give the body some adequate rest. Being that we are in these decrepit bodies, these bodies, as I say, in this society, man, we don't age. We decay. We're decaying. So with that being said, of course, we try to keep up with our health as best as possible. And of course, a lot of that has to do with our recovery. So typically when I take more days off than I would like to, when I get back in the gym, and usually I go hard regardless, especially with the type of regime that I do, pretty much go hard, every session. So, I'm pretty much through, my body's through. I'm tired, like I said, got off the plantation. Went to the gym, hit the gym. So I'm just going, I'm almost to my destination. And like I said, originally I wanted to do a video while I was on the plantation last night, but things got kind of busy. And it's really on my spirit to do this video. Well, not this particular video, but by the time this video is up, by the time this videos are uploaded, the video that I'm in question is it'll already be uploaded. So that being said, the previous video that I did before I uploaded this one, I'm sure this will be uploaded sometime in the afternoon or whatever. It's early in the morning. It's almost 8:30 in the morning. So by the time you see this video, I would have, Lord willing, have already done the video that wanted to do. And like I said, it's really in my spirit to do it. So I can't go to sleep without doing the video. So like I said, and because I usually go on these walks on my days when I'm not going to the gym, just to keep my body loose or whatever. So I wasn't planning on going on this walk, but nevertheless, like I said, it's really on my spirit to do this particular video. And while I'm on my walk, which is, I'm on this walk now, the spirit inspired me to do this quick chat with the church. All right. Which is just basically a spiritual rant. And two precepts come to mind. Just dealing with how, when it comes to this race, matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this here in Ecclesiastes 9. Matter of fact, I start at verse 10. Before I read this, I'm gonna go ahead and cross this street, because Esau doesn't give a damn about a so-called Negro. You know, being a, you know, this trail is mostly Edomites and shit, so just bear with me as I cross this street. Bear with me. And Esau almost damn nearly, Esau on the bike almost, because you know this trail it cuts through the street, so you know obviously you gotta wait for the cars to go by. But you know Esau with his entitled ass, Esau riding his bike and shit. You know he expects everyone to just see him and stop at the last second. You know Esau almost got hit. You know Esau almost hit Esau. So like I said, how much more a so-called Negro? Esau doesn't give a damn about a so-called Negro. But Ecclesiastes 9 and 10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. So you see, because you know it's about doing the work now. You know, while we have this liberty, while we have the opportunity. All right. And even when, if for those that so-called perish, those that so-called die, you know, even their works follow them. To the elect that go on to the spiritual realm, their works follow them. So, but nevertheless, it's about doing the work, and you know, whatever your gift is, you know, hey, put your best foot forward and give it your all. You know, give it your all. You see, verse 11 it says, "I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all." And let me just see what this says in the NLT. It says, I have observed something else under the sun. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race. So you see, and that's the point right there. Because why is that? It's about pacing yourself, you know, which is going to lead me to Hebrews, the 12th chapter, you know. It's not about finishing the fastest. It's not about the fastest runner, you know. It's about pacing yourself. You see, you know, in this thing of ours, you know, you don't want to burn yourself out. You know, we all have to find our balance. Again, tapping into our blessing, our spiritual gifts. You know, some brothers are more into the Hebrew, some brothers are more into the history, some brothers are more into exhortation, some brothers are more into the, you know, deep into the prophecies. Every brother has their gifts. Some brothers are into making anointing oils, you know, or whatever the case may be. Some brothers are into incense. Some brothers, you know, it varies. So, you know, it's about, you know, again, running this race with patience. Like I said, pacing yourself, because you know you don't want to burn yourself out, and that tends to happen, you know. And we see it all the time, you know, these guys and gals that run these marathons, you know, run a full pace. And actually, there was an episode of My Wife and Kids, you know, some years ago, where you had what's his name? I think it was Damon Wayans. You know, his character. It was an episode where they were running a marathon, and you know, Damon Wayans' character being all proud because he was running with a bunch of basically people that couldn't keep up with him. You know, older people and things of that nature. You know, older gentlemen and women and things of that nature. You know, so he knew that they couldn't keep up with him. So what, you know, out of pride, what ended up happening was, you know, from the start, from the get-go, he you know, he basically ran the race at a full sprint. You know, And then, you know, they show how later on in the marathon, you know, he was tired out, you know. And of course, it's a comedy show, so, you know, everyone's running past him, you know. They show everyone running past him. They showed old people, basically, just to make the skit more funnier. You know, they showed people on their canes walking past him because he was burnt out, so he couldn't, you know, he was burnt out. You know, so he ended up ultimately, of course, losing the marathon, but, you know, again, just to make the skit funny. You had old people on their canes that were walking past him. People on the wheelchairs, they started walking, you know, they started rolling past them, you know, so, you know, that's what happens when, again, you know, you don't, when you don't run the race with patience, you know, you gotta pace yourself, you know. Again, you don't want to burn yourself out, you know. So with all this being said, again, what inspired me to do this was just on another note, you know, just the fact that, you know, because I talk about this all the time when speaking on this topic, speaking on the subject, which again, this is what motivated me to do this. Because like I said, I'm tired, you know, a lot of my videos I try to do when I'm working on a plantation overnight, and I'm through. You know, my body's, I'm tired, you know. I told him, I had a counsel with one of my head brothers some months back, man, you know, just talking with the bro one-on-one. Like, man, I literally feel my body, man. I feel my body going. Because like I said, we're not aging in this society. You know, we are decaying. We are dying. You know, some are dying faster than others. You know, some are going quicker than others, you know. So, you know, and the Wadi Abashima Shada brother gave me some, the Oda gave me some, you know, wise counsel, just as far as some, you know, changes and things that I can do, you know. Something as simple as, you know, switching up the liquor, you know. There's a difference for those that drink liquor and wine. You'd be surprised. There's a major significance in just switching up the wine, the liquor that you drink. Because as I always say, all I drink is water, liquor, and wine. I don't drink all the sugar drinks, Sprite, or nothing like that. Soda's nothing. Water, liquor, and wine, and not in that order. You know, so you'd be surprised the difference that you feel, and just switching up your alcohol, of course, as well as the alcohol intake. You know, but switching to the more well, you know, everything is poison in this society, so it's more so just choosing the lesser poison, you know, the lesser evil, so to say, you know, and drinking to the more healthier option when it comes to liquor specifically, you know. So, you know, just like I said, just little things here and there, little life changes here, you know, here and there, you know. Like I said, you know, and, you know, it says a lot, because to quote this nigga, what's his name, Drake, you know, and I quote it all the time, you know, I'm too young to be feeling this old. You know, Drake said that in the song. Because this don't make no sense, you know. This don't make no sense. You know, brothers like me, young brothers, this is supposed to be our youth. This is supposed to be our prime, you know. But brothers feel like shit, you know. And you know, it's just, and that's not to, you know, be all down and out, woe's me spirit, because, hey, as the scriptures say, in weakness the Lord shows his strength, you know. Because, you know, me personally, I deal with health issues. You know, I'm on lifetime medications, or medication, I'll say. Because, you know, Esau, And that's another thing on another note. Like I said, this is a spiritual rant, so I'm gonna be all over the place a little bit. But on another note, when it comes to these doctors, you know, because I've never been one to have to go to the doctors and things of that nature, you know. But now that like I said, with my condition and me having to, you know, see a doctor on the regular now, you know, these doctors, man, they're quick to you know, put you on all type of bullshit, put you under the needle, do all type of procedures, because of course they get paid, you know. You know, my doctor, I'll say, which he's got to be Elam, if I'm not mistaken. He's got to be Elam. So it's bad enough they already don't like Jake as it is. But not only that, good morning. But not only that, I'm not one to just, you know, bend over backwards, because again, to speak on these doctors, man, they're there for you. You're not there for them. All right. And as far as, you know, because there's nothing wrong with, you know, going up to you know, get checkups, you know, check on yourself, you know. You know, just to, you know, get a baseline of where you're at as far as your health, what you can work on, what you can do better, and this and that. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's all it should be. Like I said, the doctors, they're there for you. You're not there for them. So with that being said, my doctor, he doesn't, like I said, it's already bad enough I'm a Jake. You know, these other nations, they don't like Jake. But it's another thing. I know my doctor, he doesn't like me even more, because I'm not one to just, like I said, bend over backwards and, you know, put me on all these medications. You know, the first week I was, because, you know, I had like I said, I have a condition, you know, and not to sound too dramatic or whatever, but it's a life-threatening condition, you know. And again, you know, it goes to show me, and it makes me more humble, it makes me more grounded, it makes me more appreciative. You know, it just makes me lean more to Yahweh Shema Shai, you know. You know, it just show me how vulnerable I am. You know, because goddamn, Jake is vulnerable. You know, Jake is vulnerable. You know, so I tend to look on the bright side of things. I've always been the type to look at the glass half full rather than half empty. So, you know, as soon as I got out the hospital, and I was, you know, this doctor was assigned to me or whatever. The first week, the first appointment, my first follow-up appointment after I got out the hospital, you know, this dude was basically fear-mongering, you know, like, oh man, you know, because there's a particular procedure I had when I first got this condition. It was a procedure I had when I first got this condition some years ago. You know, I got this condition, you know. Hold on, let me cross the street, because you know Esau doesn't give a damn about a so-called Negro. But like I said, when I first got this condition, it was, you know, it was new to me, you know. It was new. You know, of course, I'll be first to tell you, I was afraid, man, you know. Because like I said, it's a life-threatening condition, you know. And I was almost out of there. You know. It's one of those things I thought the Lord was going to take me out, dog. And that's why I always say, that's the main reason why I always say, listen, I ain't no tough guy, you know. I can tolerate a lot of shit. You know, Jake's been through a lot of shit. Jake is hardened. Jake can tolerate a lot of shit. But I'm not no tough guy. That's why I always say, I'm not no tough guy. You know, I get scared, man. You know, now it takes a lot to shake me up. But the Lord knows how to get you. He knows how to get us all. And I thought that was it, man. I thought that was going to take me out. And you know, like I said, there's a lot of things you just got to take, with a grain of salt, and I believe Esau, because, a lot of what these doctors, what they tell you is shit, is bullshit, it's horse shit. That's why I was going to say, that's why I said, when it comes down to it, these doctors, they're here for you. You're not here for them. All right. So you take what's needful for you. Of course, pray about it, fast, or whatever. And you take what's needful for you. You don't have to, just because Esau basically puts all this, basically he's a fearmonger, He tells you this and that. It doesn't mean you have to run with it, And that's another thing that I picked up, because I've said it before when speaking on this. The Lord has it to where brothers are getting more knowledgeable with the herbs and things of that nature, That's a part of that's a part of how the Lord works. Put brothers in, certain health situations specifically to get them knowledgeable with the herbs and things of that nature. Because the time is coming when the health system is not going to be as it is now. There's not going to be a healthcare system. As a matter of fact, I got to find this, because as I, walk on this trail, see the different plants and leaves and things of that nature. And I got to download this app, man, to see, because, you got certain of the apps where you could just take a picture of the plant or whatever, and it'll show you, it'll tell you what it is and the uses, the benefits and things of that nature. So Lord willing, I can get into that. Lord willing, I will get into that. But my first follow-up appointment with this doctor that I got, man, like I said, he's got to be Elam. And right away he was, oh man, we gotta get you, we gotta do this, oh man, because like I said, there's particular procedures, and one in particular that I had where they actually had to, it's not a surgery, but nevertheless they did have to, they did have to, slice me open, and it sounds worse than what it is. I didn't even need anesthesia or anything, but nevertheless, it was a procedure I had to go through. They had to, put catheters in me, and things of that nature. And again, it goes to show you the mercy of Yahweh Shema Shaman, because this go around, like I said, recently I was in the hospital earlier this year. I was in the hospital, and knowing what I know now, I wasn't going for none of that shit, I wasn't going for that bullshit. I wasn't going for it, And because I didn't, go with it. Like I said, when that first follow-up appointment, the doctor, oh man, we gotta. He wanted to right away, it was either that week or the next week. He wanted to, oh man, we gotta get you we gotta put you on the table, man. We gotta, just trying to invoke that fear, trying to invoke that fear. But I'm like, no, I'm good, just give me the meds, and from there, of course, I take other herbs and things of that nature, natural remedies, but for sure, I'll take these meds. Unfortunately, it's a lifetime thing. I'll never get off it until the new bodies come. But like I said, with all that being said, the fact that I am the way that I am with that, I'm, the fact that I say no, because they're trying to put me on all these other medications, do all these other things. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I said, they're there for you. You're not there for them. So you take what, is needful for you. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with doing your, routine checkups just to get a baseline of where you're at, see how you're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's where I'm at with it. And they don't like that. They don't like that. You see? They don't like that. Even when I talk to the nurses, before I talk to the doctor, you talk to the nurses and things of that nature. And they ask me all these questions, because like I said, they want to put you on all these other medications, and I'm just like, nah, for that, I take this, and that, and the look on their faces, the look on their faces, like, oh damn, he's one of them. He knows a little something. I'm like, yeah, I know something. I know a little something. You know, so you take what's needed for you, man, and do your own research. I always tell people, man, be your own guinea pig. Of course, pray, fast about it. But I'm doing all right. I'm not 100%. I'm never going to be 100%. Hell, none of us are going to be 100% until we get those new bodies. But hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, with all that being said, going back to the point that I was making earlier about just how, like I said, right now, man, I'm almost to my destination. But the point that I wanted to make was, because I always mention this when I speak on this topic, about running this race with patience. You got to pace yourself, because it's always like, it's got to be a psychological thing, It's almost like, it's exactly like when you got to use the restroom, when you got to go to the bathroom, and you could be up the street, you could be out and about, Jake don't like to use public bathrooms, so they want to wait till they get home, That's how I know I'm getting older. I'm not old, I won't say that, but I'm definitely getting older, because I don't give a damn. If I gotta go, I gotta go, just, of course, wipe the toilet seat down as best as possible, man. But Jake is stubborn. Jake will wait all the way until they get home, knowing when they gotta use the bathroom. But it's like, as you're on your way to home, and it's like that feeling it gets stronger. It's like you gotta use the restroom more. Because like I said, it's gotta be like a psychological thing, because you're getting closer to the destination. It's like, God, it's like when the minute you get up to the door, and you're holding yourself, you're shaking, you're holding your loins, like, fighting the keys to get into the lock and shit, because you gotta go. It's urgent. The closer you get to the bathroom, man, the stronger that feeling gets. So with that being said, because it's like when you running a marathon, right? Running that marathon, you'll run the race, you're running that marathon, you're pacing yourself the whole marathon, and you're fine. You're absolutely fine. But again, going back to that, it's got to be a psychological thing. The fact that that last lap, man, it's got to be psychological, because that last lap, man, it's always difficult. It's always difficult. That's why people say, hey, we're in the championship rounds. That's when you got to give it your all. That's when you're tired, man. That fourth quarter, that 12th round heavyweight bout, man, that's when it hurts. All those punches you were taking in the previous 10, 11 rounds, man, that's when it come to hurt. Yeah, it all comes back to haunt you in the last round. You're playing hard for 3 quarters. That fourth quarter, that's when it's, hey, as much as it hurts, man, you want to throw up, you got your hands on your knees and everything, but you gotta, hey, that's when you gotta give it your all. Because when it's like, again, going back to that psychological thing, man, when you see the finish line, that's when, hey, the shit hurts. Going back to the comparison with the bathroom, the closer you get to the bathroom, the more it hurts. So again, with all that being said, man, like I was saying, because I'm almost at my destination, and like I said, man, I'm tired. You get to you have those thoughts, man, where it's just like, man, you just want to quit. Just turn around and just, I'm done. But no, we've come too far. But like I said, I'm hurting. Getting off the plantation, You know, for those that work nights, you know, when you work nights, man, your body never recovers. You know, your body never recovers. You know, your body never recovers, man. You know, that's one of the main things that you need, man, is sleep, rest. You know, as far as me, I've been doing this, and brothers know, because, you know, I'll show brothers in my camp a few before and after pictures. And, you know, when I was a big boy, man, you know, I was a big boy. Well, I'm a big boy now, but, I was big, man. You know, I'm talking Fat Albert big. You know, Fat Albert big. You know, I was pushing 400 pounds. You know, dealing with all type of problems, man. You know, borderline diabetic, all type of things. You know, so you know, losing all that weight, you get into fitness and things of that nature. You know, of course, it's helped out a lot. You know, literally saved my life. Of course, through Yahweh Shemi Awashai, saved my life. You know, definitely couldn't continue to live like that, man. And losing all that weight and things of that nature. You know, but even with that being said, because I started my journey, back in 2017, 2018, you know, and I'll just say that to say, because it's not until like a year and a half ago or so, that's when I really started taking rest serious, you know, taking rest days serious, man, and just rest serious in general, you know, because there was a time when I was, man, you know, the shit catches up to you. Like I said, some age quicker than others, some are decaying quicker than others, you know, and things catch up to you. There's a time in my life, man, you know, in my younger years when I was working I was pushing damn nearly 100 hours a week, working almost 100 hours a week, like 80, 90 hours a week, you know, working overnight, get off that job to go straight to the next job, barely getting any sleep, you know, 2 full-time jobs, you know, and I believe that's definitely been catching up to me, you know, you know, that's for sure. That's definitely been catching up. A lot of things been catching up, you know. So that's why I said, within the past year and a half or so, man, recently, you know, that's when I really started taking my rest serious, you know. And boy, does the rest make a difference. You know, I'm late to the game. You know, I'm just catching up. What have I been missing out on? So, like I said, with that being said, what was I saying? Cause like I said, man, I got off work last night, man, or this morning, went to the gym, and I'm doing this walk, and again, dog, I'm tired, man, I'm hurting. This shit hurts. This shit'll make a grown man cry. Shit'll bring you to your knees, dog. This shit hurts, you know, but, you know, hey, like the scripture say, matter of fact, let's read this again in Ecclesiastes 9:11 in the NLT. I have observed something else under the sun. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race, and the strongest warrior doesn't always win the battle. So you see, that's another good point, you know, that's another good point. You know, hey, just look at what the Lord did to someone, a Jake like Ronnie Coleman. If you don't know who Ronnie Coleman is, man, you know, look into him, Mr. World eight-time Olympia. You know, look at Ronnie Coleman in his prime versus look at him now. He's through. So all that shit doesn't mean nothing, you know. As the scriptures say, the mighty man is gonna perish, you know. The mighty man is gonna forbear to fight, you know. The Lord's gonna turn mighty men into women. So, you know, you see Ronnie Coleman now compared to his prime. That's a small example. A small example, you know. That's a beautiful example. So all those muscles and shit, that shit doesn't mean anything. Now, of course, you know, changes to your body is going to come with it. It's going to come with the territory. You know, when you're consistent, you know, naturally, you know, your body's going to change. But that shit don't mean nothing, you know. Brothers in my camp, hey, they call me the Hulk, you know. You know, but hey, I ain't got it, dog. I ain't got it, you know. That's my nickname. Yeah, that's my nickname, you know, in my camp. You know, you got little big bruv, you got big little bruv, and then you got big bruv. You know, I'm the big bruv, you know, the Hulk, right? But dog, I'll be first to tell you, all this shit don't mean nothing, dog. It just comes with it, you know. It just comes with being consistent. This shit don't mean nothing. I promise. I promise. This shit don't mean nothing. You know. So, just going back to the point, man. Like I said, you know, hey, with all this being said, dog, I'm tired, man. I'm hurting. I'm slowing down. You know, I can feel myself slowing down. But that's all right. It's not, you know, again, it's, you know, just me pacing myself. It's just me pacing myself, you know. I'm slowing down. You know, there's no need to you know, burn myself out. You know, but nevertheless, the shit does hurt. It hurts. You know, it hurts like holy hell. You know, I mean, you know, like I said, I couldn't sleep, man. I had to go out and do this video that you'll see, Lord willing, before this video is uploaded. That video should be up, you know, but I couldn't sleep, man. The Spirit was on me to really do this video. So, you know, I just said, why not? And Lord willing, take my ass back home and get some rest. You know, and that's just all she wrote. Wake up to do it all over again. You know, the same old bullshit. You know, but from there, I'm gonna go to Hebrews 12 now. I'm gonna wrap this up. Hebrews 12:1. Oh, see? I just so happened to look down at the last second. You know, almost stumbled. But that's the scriptures, you know. Have they stumbled that they should fall? You know. There's the Spirit is in everything, you know. Look at everything through spiritual lenses. You know. But Hebrews 12:1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great cloud of witnesses. That did I can't even talk, you know. A lot of times when you see me, you know, because I was saying earlier, a lot of the videos that I do, they be on the plantation. But like I said, I'd be tired, I'd be through. So, you know, that's why you see me, and I sound out of it, dog. I sound out of it, you know. I sound through, because I am through. If it's not for the Spirit of the Lord, man, that upholds us, man, we're all through. You know, so I'll be mumbling and shit, but hey, the sacrifice is always worth it, you know. The sacrifice is always worth it. You know, but I was touching on this not too long ago, maybe the other week or so. You know, because again, we're in this, it's a fight. And everyone loves a good fight. And that includes the Heavenly Father. He loves a good fight. The angels, Yahushua, they're watching us. Like I said here, we're foreseeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. So you see, our brothers in the spiritual realm, they're watching us. They're cheering for us. You know, as I'm walking this trail, you know, this damn concrete, you know, I like to picture, you know, the angels, man, you know, like, hey, man, you got it, come on, you know. It's like when you're right there at the finish line and you got those, you know, people cheering for you on the sideline, man, like, you got it, you know, like, let's go, come on, don't give up. No, that's the angels, man. Our brothers, Yahweh himself, they're cheering for us. Because we're not in this fight alone, you know. Scripture talk about how the angels, man, they minister unto us. They give us strength. You have the different accounts. Where Yahweh Shai, where he got meat, his moments where he got weak, and the angels had to minister unto him. You know, so again, the angels, man, they're there giving us strength, girding us with strength. You know, through the Spirit of the Lord is uplifting us. You know, it's keeping us going. That's why you hear us say, Yahweh Shema Shai, Lahashem Rakwadash. What is the Rakwadash? That's them angels, man. You know, all things are done by Yahweh through his only begotten Son via the holy angels. Which the angels, man, they perform the will and the works of Yahweh Shema Shai. You see? So the angels are on our side. All right, and they're giving us strength. They're ministering unto us, you know, and pray for that, you know. Pray to Yahweh Shema Shai to command the angels to minister unto us, you know, to give us strength, you know. So reading on, it says, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which do so easily beset us. And this is the point. It says, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So again, all right, pace yourself. Don't burn yourself out. All right. And on another note, like I said, you know, going back to that psychological thing, man, for whatever reason, when you see the finish line, it hurts, man. You know, everything comes. It's like all the aches and pains. It comes in that last round, that last lap. You be running the whole race just fine, pacing the whole race just fine. But come that last lap, man, that's when everything starts to catch up. And that's when you want to give up the most. That's when you're tired the most. That's when it hurts the most. And for brothers, that's why it hurts, because we see the finish line. You know, it might not even seem like it, you know, because brothers are tolerant, you know. Brothers are so built up to a point where, you know, brothers are hardened, you know. Brothers are numb, because it's not like brothers aren't catching hell. You know, brothers are catching hell, but, you know, it doesn't affect you as much, you know, because brothers are so built up. But brothers are catching hell, you know. But nevertheless, the shit hurts because we see the finish line. All right, you know, that's when we want to give up the most. That's when you want to stop the most. That's when you just want to throw in the towel the most. But that's when we got to give it our all. Like I said, man, you know, I'm almost to my destination. I actually walked past my destination just to, you know, go to show you that, you know, hey, you got more in the tank than you know. You got more in you than you know. But how are you gonna know if, you know, the Lord doesn't bend you just a little, you know, just a little more? You know, the Lord knows how to bend us just enough, not to the point where it breaks us. You know, but we have to be put in those positions to where, hey, we have to dig deep. You know, you surprise yourself, man. You know, the Lord knows it's there. It just has to manifest. It just has to draw out. You know, it just has to come out. And that's one of the points of going through the trials and tribulations. All the fruits of the Spirit, all those quality traits that Yahweh Shema Shai wants, it's in us. It just has to be drawn out, and it comes out through our trials and tribulations. You know, when we go through our hell, you know, that's what makes us stronger. So, you know, again, man, you know, we are at the end. You know, it's not a matter of, you know, we're approaching the end. We are at the end, and that's why it hurts more. You know, that's why it hurts more. Because we see the finish line, and it's that mind trick, man. It's like, damn, the closer you get to the finish line, the more you just want to tap out, the more you want to quit, the more the shit hurts. It's like, god damn, But that's why the scriptures say, the he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. And that's why we have to hold on, cleave unto Yahweh Shema Shai more than ever, dog. You got to cling on to the Lord for dear life. Because it's going to get worse. It's going to get more uncomfortable. And that's almost a nerve-wracking thought. But that's just the flesh talking. And that's why speaking in this same chapter, it talks about being exercised. We're being exercised to train the spirit. Because what does the Lord say? I'm not going to put on you more than you can bear. So, hey, keep that in mind. But I've rambled long enough. Lord, one of this was edifying, giving all praises to Yahweh Shema Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.